Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out.
Show of hands. Anybody think Donald Trump looks better after this town hall?
We have more liquid gold under our feet than any other nation.
A lot of the show today is going to be remarking on Donald Trump's steamrolling over CNN last night, but we're also going to talk about the fact that Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, is now anti-reparations now that something plausible is on the table, and also the border crisis as Title 42 ends, as we are ending the COVID federal emergency. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Jobo. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go!
That might be the only brown guy on earth named jobob.
That is actually her name, jobob.
Ooh, hi! From the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is Thursday, May 11th, the year of our Lord, 2023. So last night, the entire, I don't want to say the entire country, but a lot of them tuned in to watch Donald Trump just go nuts on CNN. And I feel like the terminology from the generational barriers are go nuts is not a bad thing. He didn't lose his mind on CNN. I feel like I have to clarify that. When I say go nuts, I mean he just steamrolled through CNN, that CNN town hall with Caitlin Collins. Daily Caller alum, Caitlin Collins, I believe. I'm pretty sure she worked at the Daily Caller at some point. But holy cow. I don't think it could have gone, wow, I want to say it couldn't have gone better. But Trump was on top of his game. And this is, again, you can feel certain ways about the guy. You can love him, you can hate him, you can be irritated when he shoves his foot in his mouth. But he was him, and he said a lot of very, in my opinion, electable things last night. We're going to get to some of the funny stuff / some of the stuff that's making the news, but then there's also some lesser viral clips that I want to play from this, that if he kind of sticks on this message, this dude wins in a landslide in 2024. But again, I think at this point, every American knows what they're getting when Donald Trump comes onto a stage or talks. And so with that, some of the antics, I think if you like the guy, they're funny. And if you don't like the guy, you weren't going to like him to begin with. We'll just roll right on into this. This is one of the bigger clips getting the rounds. So he talks about the elections a little bit. That is its own thing. You can think that elections are legitimate, but also want to have some sense of understanding of how the rules are being enforced and what the rules are. There are several rules on the books that make believing the elections very fuzzy. I'm not saying this is an election denying thing. This is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that in order for elections to be wholeheartedly believed by everybody on both sides, they need to be set up in the way that the rules provide no room for error. And right now, I don't think they do. With California's ballot harvesting, with all of the different, there's so many different rules out there that make you question things, which that's the actual problem. Remember, Democrats denied the election in 2016. Republicans / Trump people denied the elections in 2020. At the end of the day, we all lose, doesn't matter what side you're on, if nobody believes the elections. So the rules need to be set up in such a way that regardless of who you voted for, you get to see the vote counting in the public eye, and there needs to be undisputed evidence that, yes, this person won. That's the only way you keep the country, regardless of what side you're on. Anyways, there was some election talk, and then there was some January 6th talk, and this is actually kind of interesting. And also, maybe this is me not, I take in a lot of mainstream stuff just to kind of see what's going on. But a lot of this was like new to me. Watch this clip. I'll stop rambling here. This is Donald Trump bringing receipts to the CNN town hall forum, and a lot of people ate this up. So yeah, here it goes. Oh, by the way, if you haven't already, would really appreciate you clicking the little like button down here, the little share button, the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, also the like button on Facebook. But yeah, would appreciate you engaging some way, shape, or form with the video, or it really helps us out. Kind of keeps doing this every day. Anyways, watch this.
Back to what happened on that day.
He
You said
did
you
not
weren't.
say that.
He has testified that, Mr.
He
President.
did not say that.
But you said you weren't very involved that day. You did tell your supporters to come to Washington. You tweeted about it, about
True,
that
of
speech
course.
that happened on the rally.
Am I allowed to say that?
When they went to the Capitol and they were breaking into the Capitol, smashing windows, injuring police officers, why did it take you 3 hours to tell them to go home?
I don't believe it did. Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out. So if you look at, on January 5th, the day before, I said, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. This was the day before, and this was in the form of Twitter. Now I use Truth Social. I think it's far superior, okay? I hope everybody's on Truth. If you look January 6th, this is before 2:30. I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. This is right after, as it was happening. But what happened is they took it down. I don't know why. I think they took it down because it was so good. They didn't like it being up there. I am asking, and we didn't know until I got it back, because now I have 90 million people waiting for me to go back, but I'm on Truth and I'm staying on Truth. Listen, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violation. We want no violation. We want no violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. That was at 2:30. That was very early.
Mr. President, I looked at the same timeline that you did.
No, I know, but you didn't report that. You know why? Because it was taken down.
We did report it. I was reporting that
thing. It
thing.
was taken down and it wasn't.
But when it was clear.
Yeah, interesting. I honestly don't know about the whole taken down, not taken down. But it is interesting to see the tweets from the day before. Look, everybody keep it peaceful, all of that sort of stuff. Kind of a narrative that you don't see. I have not been shy about this. I wasn't a huge fan of how he handled things going on January 6th. I think he should have been on TV and on the video that he put up should have gone up way sooner than way sooner than it did. That's what I've thought. I've said this many times before. But it is interesting to see a bunch of the stuff that he tweeted beforehand. Now, there's a bunch of other clips. We're still going to play several other clips, but there's a bunch of clips of him calling Kaylin Collins a nasty woman and, being Trump, right? Nobody didn't expect that. I think that double negative works. In other words, everybody now, like I said at the beginning, knows who Trump is, and they're aware of how he operates. And I think that was pretty evident when the CNN people did a panel after the event. Watch this very short clip, and we'll get to some of the other stuff on the other side. Check it out.
To vote, but that's what they have in common, that most of them are Trump supporters. What I want to ask you first of all is, do you think, show of hands, anybody think Donald Trump looks better after this town hall? Any of you think he looks worse? Any of you think the same thing about him as you did when you walked in? So all of you feel that way. First thing I want to ask you about, Donald Trump.
I think that is so telling of the American population. I think that pretty much everyone has made up their mind and has an opinion on Donald Trump. Now, there are people that just love the guy and will vote for him no matter what. There are people that just hate the guy and will vote against him no matter what. And then there is a big swath of people in the middle that I think a lot more people than expected fall into the category-wise, saying, there are some things I can't stand about his personality and the way he carries himself. And also, the policies are good. And I think there is a decent amount of people that thought that going into 2020 and kind of had this idea of like, well, I don't really like the way the emotional health of the country is going, and things are going pretty well. I don't think that they're going to get really any worse, and therefore decided to go on an emotional personality decision and voted for Joe Biden. The sideline right here. I have no idea why the personality and the not necessarily the way the president does their life, I do not care about. If in the same way that the CEO of your company, if the CEO of your company does a bunch of things on the weekends that are legal, like I'm not saying we should break the law here, but that are outside of what you would do with your life, I don't know if I really care, as long as that guy is doing a good, guy or girl is doing good at running the company. Same thing goes with the presidency. I have no idea why emotions factor in at all to who's running the country. It goes without saying, and I think a lot of you probably watching this are thinking that too. There are several times where I think Trump shoves his foot in his mouth and says dumb things. And also, he seemed to be pretty effective at running the federal government from a policy standpoint and understanding how the whole system operates. That being said, here is another clip of the Trump stuff, and this is him talking about the sexual assault case that he was found liable for yesterday. We talked a lot about it yesterday. Here are some clips from that I thought were so on brand for him, and also kind of interesting points to bring up, because at the end of the day, like I said yesterday, my prediction is I don't think this is going to make a big difference, because the people that already hate him were going to hate him regardless, and the people that were on the fence or even like him a lot are going to go, they're wise enough to know that, okay, hold on, Donald Trump is being tried in Manhattan. Yeah, he could be, Donald Trump could be tried in Manhattan for being, I don't know, the chief beheader to Pol Pot hundreds of years ago, and they would find him guilty of it. I'm trying to outline an example of something that couldn't even possibly happen, and he would be found, quote unquote, guilty or liable of it because he's being tried in Manhattan. Anyways, watch this. This is him kind of talking about those clips, and then there's a fascinating clip of that same panel and how they felt about it, and I think their ideas kind of align with mine on whether or not this matters politically. Check it out.
Her dog or her cat was named Vagina. The judge wasn't allowed to put that in. All of these things, but with her, they can put in anything. Access, Hollywood.
This was a jury of 9 people who found you liable of sexual abuse. Do you think that will deter women from voting for you?
No, I don't think so, because I think the whole thing, just so you understand, ready? I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This woman said, I met her at the front door of.
Yeah, he goes on, and we don't need to go on for all that. He basically says, he goes on, yeah, I never, I'm denying it, and given the zip code in which the trial is being held, and given the personality, this is a civil case that is being tried in the public eye, the court of public opinion, and I just don't think it moves the needle at all. And what I think confirms that is this clip. This is from the panel / polling people of CNN kind of reacting to Trump. So watch this. Oh, by the way, if you haven't already, would really appreciate you clicking the little like button and the little share button, or letting us know in the comment section what you think. I'm scrolling through these comments as these videos are playing, and a lot of love for the orange guy. Check it out. Watch this.
Here he is at this town hall today. I've never met her before, and you're just making fun of her. How did that make you feel as a woman?
I didn't really care.
Why didn't you care?
I don't know enough about the case. Women can be victims of abuse. Women can also make up stories. I mean, we see it all the time. So I don't know. All of these situations where people are coming out 20, 30 years later, I don't listen to it.
One more question for you. Mike Pence, he said regarding January 6th
that was it of that.
That he doesn't think Pence was in danger.
So,
he doesn't feel
Wow, how long is this thing? I cut that off way later. Man, there's so much to unpack here. We won't go too deep into this because I do really want to get to his like crazy electable stuff that he was talking about last night. But the bottom line is this. There are terrible, terrible cases out there of people doing terrible things to one another, especially in the world of sexual assault. And all of those terrible things get minimized when you have something that is very, very difficult to prove being brought to the forefront. And I'm not saying, I'm not making any claims of like, well, his behavior is totally fine or nothing. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, if you put a ton of attention and focus on maybe sketchy kind of this or that, who actually knows, you're going to diminish the testimony of actual victims and survivors. That's kind of what I think this lady is getting at. I don't think this hurts him politically, and I think it just kind of gets swept under the rug and will only work on the people that hate him. All right. I want to get to this because I think this is interesting. You know, there's a lot of different things that can be talked about in the political realm, especially when you're running for president or running for some sort of political office. I honestly think if Trump sticks to this kind of messaging, these kind of topics, and stays away from the election stuff, you know, regardless of what you think, I personally think that we need a lot of tightening the screws on our election laws because at the end of the day, if people don't believe the outcome, it doesn't matter what side you're on, doesn't matter who you voted for, we lose the country. So yes, I think we need to have more stringent election laws that without question prove who won or who didn't win, all that sort of stuff. Got it. But at the end of the day, if he starts talking and continues to talk and makes 90% of his platform this, I think Donald Trump gets elected in 2024 by a pretty big margin. Watch this. This is kind of long, but my case here I'm trying to make is if he continues to stay on this message, he will win hands down, no questions asked. Watch this.
Hi, thank you so much for coming to New Hampshire to answer our questions. My question is regarding the economy. Over the past 2 years, we have seen the prices for everything skyrocket. From food to gas to utilities and insurance costs, many people's bills are up several $100s a month, including mine. If elected president again, what is the first thing you would do to help bring down the cost to make things more affordable?
Drill, baby, drill. You know about that. So, we were energy independent. We were soon going to be energy dominant. And nobody had ever done what I did. We got oil down to $1.87. Actually, it fell lower than that in some cases. We had to save the oil companies. The price was getting so. We were doing incredibly. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country, probably the greatest economy in the history of the world. We were energy independent, soon to be energy dominant. We were going to be bigger than Russia and Saudi Arabia put together ×2. We have more liquid gold under our feet than any other nation. And these stupid fools ended it. And energy went from $1.87 and even lower for gasoline, for a car. They went from $1.87 to $5, $6, $7, $8, and even $9. And your electricity bills went through the roof, your heating bills went through the roof. And that's what started inflation, and it hasn't stopped because people are paying now for bacon and for eggs and for the 2 and 3 times what it was just a little while ago. We created the greatest economy in history. A big part of that economy was got you the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country, bigger than the Reagan cuts, bigger than any. And also, Caitlin, as you know, we got the biggest regulation and regulatory cuts. This place was rocking, and then we were given a gift from China, and China paid a big price. And let me tell you something. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes from China, But prior to COVID coming in, and then I rebuilt the economy again, a second time. But we had, prior to COVID coming in as from China, from Wuhan, which I said it came from Wuhan. Everybody said, oh, you're wrong about that. You're wrong. It came from Wuhan. I said it right from day one. So we had the greatest economy in the world. Here's the story. They made energy so high, and energy is all invasive. It is massive as an industry and as a cost. It lifted everything. If
Mr.
you
President,
if you made donuts, if you made, no matter what you did, and we had inflation, the likes of which I guess we haven't had, they said, for 52 years, but I think more than that. We had no inflation. We had the lowest energy prices we've had in decades. This country was rocking and rolling. And by the way, we had the most secure border in the history of our country.
If he stays on that message, he talks about jobs. He talks about the economy. He talks about the pricing that you're paying for everyday items in and around your household. He talks about the border. Talks about being self-reliant on products made in America. He wins. Like, it's not, this is not like an endorsement or like a this or that or this or that. It's just factual. A lot of people in the comment section really hype on this. Cynthia says Trump 2024. Richard, regarding the entire CNN town hall, says Trump wiped him silly. Let's see. Ryan says the man knows how to talk to his base. Yeah, stay on message, dude. Talking to Trump. Don't go off on crazy tangents. But look at this. Ben says he needs to stay away from talking about the stolen election. Yes, again, regardless of what you believe there, the thing that's hitting people the hardest is their wallets right now. And I think if he stays on that, he runs away with this thing. The lefty side of the aisle, AOC and the gang were not happy with CNN and hated the entirety of it. Now, that's to be expected, but it was interesting the backlash that CNN took from pretty much every lefty outlet. The New York Times had an opinion piece that it was terrible. MSNBC said this was awful. Why did you host a Trump rally? Here's the thing. I can see why CNN did it. They are desperately trying to rebuild their reputation because when I was growing up, in the early 2000s, CNN, maybe had a leftward slant, but they were known as kind of like, look, this is the news. Fox has more talk shows, MSNBC has more talk shows, but this is what cable news is to try and report what is going on. Obviously, since then, CNN has taken just a nosedive and has gone completely to the other side. I think this attempt at having Trump do a town hall on CNN was in line with a lot of the other things going on at the network. Their top dog got fired. They got rid of a lot of their super woke hosts. I think this is an attempt to try and get back to that kind of middle ground thing. I don't think it worked, by the way, but I understand why they did it. But you had AOC, you had a bunch of the MSNBC hosts just furious that this happened. Let me see. There was a fun tweet. Dan, I thought this was Dan Rather. I don't know who Daniel Goldman is. He's a congressman from New York. But he tweeted, and this is exactly what I think a lot of people thought. Why did CNN host a Trump rally? Because at the end of the day, that's effectively what it is. Dan Rather took it a little bit further. That he said, does CNN count that as an in-kind campaign donation? Again, with just how aggressively Trump ran through CNN for this thing. So yeah, there's that. It was wild. We'll see what happens next. Oh my gosh. Ryan says, I wish that they had gotten Don Lemon to host. What a horrible decision that would have been. But also funny. So that's that. I know we spent a lot of time talking about that, but I do want to get to this because this is actually kind of really interesting and probably pretty indicative of the entire country. Okay, So a lot of us have heard that California is planning reparations for black people, up to $1.2 million if you're a black person in their 70s that's lived in California their entire life, because they need to account for slavery, which, just to make it clear, black people who were never slaves are going to get money paid for by people who never owned slaves in a state where slavery was never legal. Somebody tell me how that makes sense. Look, we're going to put out a thing about this today on Instagram or all of the other short form platforms. But if anybody deserves reparations in California, it's the Asians. Just flat out true. I don't know if people know this. Well, people know about the internment camps. 130,000-ish Japanese people in California were interned throughout the mid-40s due to World War II for years and lost everything. Their businesses, the places, they were let out of the internment camps and just had to start over from scratch. In the 40s, we're not talking about a non-slave state in the 1850s. We're talking about California in the 40s. And not only that, I don't know if people know this, California did not allow Asian people to own property until 1952. In the 50s, they didn't allow Asian people. It was mostly an immigration thing, but the overwhelming majority of people that didn't qualify to own property in the state of California were Asian people. Put this in perspective. Joe Biden was 10 years old before Asian people were allowed to own land in the progressive state of California. How crazy is that? So if anybody deserves reparations, and I don't think reparations is really ever a good idea, it's probably Asians. But so there's a lot of news being made about reparations, getting back on track here. The Reparations Task Force, this is from Fox, independent finding and recommendations are a milestone of our bipartisan effort, yada, 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 Newsom said to Fox. To catch you up, if you haven't been listening, California said that the Reparations Task Force says that we're going to pay up to $1.2 million per single recipient reparations recommendation. They told Fox News. Dealing with the legacy of slavery. Okay. But the task force was put in place by Governor Gavin Newsom. Governor Gavin Newsom has now since said he is declining to back reparations checks, says that slavery legacy is more than just cash payments. I'm not sure what he means by that, but at the end of the day, Gavin assembles this task force because reparations is all the rage in the progressive lefty side of the political aisle. Well, we have to pay reparations to black people. Again, even though Asians probably, if anyone was to get reparations, probably Asians. Gavin says, oh, well, we have to pay these reparations, so I'm going to form a task force. And then when the task force comes back with, hey, black people get $1 million, which, if this were to actually go into effect, it would cost 3 times the entire state budget of California annually. So if this were to be a thing, the entire budget of California, the leftiest of states that spends so much money on teachers' unions, unfunded pension liabilities, on social programs that nobody wants and actually do damage to minority communities, the state that spends the most amount of money actually putting through these reparations would cost them 3 times more than the annual budget of California. Gavin is a dum-dum well, I'm about to contradict what I say. Gavin is a partisan hack, but he's not stupid. He also knows that, yeah, reparations at this level are not possible. I need to spin this in a way that make it seem like I'm still fighting for the cause, saying that, well, atoning for our sins of slavery in the non-slave state of California are more than a cash payment. In other words, we can't afford the cash payment, so I'm not going to back this. So Gavin assembles the task force, and then when the task force comes back with a verdict on how much reparations need to go to black people, he says, no, thank you. I will not endorse this sorts of shenanigans because it is utterly unworkable and far too expensive. So there's that. King Gavin denying his own idea. Well, we're out of time, and I was going to get to the border stuff, but the border stuff is going to be there tomorrow, I think, unfortunately. A lot of stuff going on at the border. I'm working on a guest from down in El Paso, see if they want to come on and talk about it, because the COVID era ends today. I think tonight at midnight, we are officially done with COVID from a federal emergency standpoint. Congratulations. Hallelujah. We did it. Of course, this goes without saying, COVID has been over for a very long time for the overwhelming majority of Americans. But today's it. I guess this is it. I should have brought a kazoo and a party hat. It's done. But we'll talk more about that tomorrow. We'll also get into the Hunter Biden stuff. I still haven't seen concrete evidence, but the New York Post went big on it this morning that the Biden family made a ton of money while Joe was the vice president. And I think that actually is going to be a bigger story than we think. There's possible indictments coming down on Hunter and a lot of the other Biden families, but we will get to that tomorrow. Appreciate you sticking around, tuning in. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. Just type in JOBOB. You'll be able to find me pretty much anywhere. We are now on Rumble every single day. So if you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, wherever, just so you know, in case you also use Rumble, you can go find me on Rumble. Just type in JOBOB. I think it's rumble.com/JOBOB, just /jobob, and you'll be able to find this show and a lot more other content on those platforms. Would appreciate you doing that. We're across all of the internet, and I think most people watch on Facebook, but head over to Rumble, check it out. It's a great platform. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. God bless America.